With the launch of FM24, it was announced that the J-League would make its franchise debut, with 3 playable leagues being licensed in this year's edition. So you know what that means? My first Japanese rebuild. Gamba Osaka are one of the most decorated clubs in Japan and even secured the AFC Champions League as recently as 2008. However, in recent seasons, they've been far from top of the league, getting progressively worse over the last 3 seasons, finishing in 16th last season. So we will jump into FM24 to see if we can take this team back to the top of Asian football. And if you've done a save in Japan in FM24, don't forget to hit the like button on this video and let me know down in the comments who you did the save with and also how you got on. Diving into the squad, I know this is going to be fun because I don't know any of these players at all. The best player in the squad is Israeli international 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙯, who looks supremely well-rounded for this level, and 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙯 𝙤𝙗𝙤𝙯, who I'm hoping will dominate on the wing. Today's tactic will be GYR's Grogu, which looks like this in-game, and here is the best 11 to start the season. We will participate in 3 competitions this season: the J-League, the J-League Cup, and the Emperor's Cup, a competition Gamba have actually won 5 times already in their history. For Season 1, we're 50-1 to win the league, but we do have 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙯 in the Media Dream 11, alongside a 38-year-old Andreas Iniesta. In the J-League this season, we started the campaign well, but we struggled to put together a series of results towards the end of the season. Ultimately, we finished the year with 11 wins, 13 draws, and 10 losses, so a very mid-season saw us finish in 10th place, a whopping 32 points behind league winners Yokohama Marinos. Things didn't go much better in the cup competitions either, as we finished 2nd in the J-League Cup group, with only the top side in each group progressing to the next round. And finally, in the Emperor's Cup, we progressed through the earlier rounds before being dispatched by Uriah Red Diamonds on the road. All in all, it was a disappointing season, but this is a building block for future success. Our key player for the season was Nohiro Sugiyama, who contributed 17 goals and 11 assists from the right wing and is now rated as a 4.5-star player. We have a transfer budget of just over 4 million in this window and £40,000 a week in the wage budget, which is pretty good as most of the players at the club are on under 10 grand a week. First up, I have to tell you about a major outgoing in the team, as Juan Alano left the club on a free transfer due to him wanting an eye-watering £45,000 a week. We did not have the facilities for that big man, so he had to leave the club. He was followed out the door by defensive midfielder 𝘼𝙗𝙗𝙗, who returned to Brazil, joining Grêmio for an initial £4.2 million. On the incoming side of things, we pulled in 12 players, spending £5.3 million in the process. To replace the Alano size hole in our team, we pulled in Dutch midfielder Elias Belhassani for £2 million, and we spent another £1 million on right back Ryoya Morishita. We pulled in a channel favourite in young Syrian defender Ali Reina for 750k, and finally we loaned in Argentine new gen Matteo Nieto from Lanús, who becomes our new centre forward. Several of those signings come straight into our best 11, but this team feels much more balanced than last season. These signings have clearly improved us as well, as we're predicted to finish 7th this season, but the board are expecting a top 5 finish from their investment. So the board wanted a top 5 finish, and we did not disappoint. We were much more consistent this season and managed to turn lots of last season's draws into wins, and even had the opportunity to win the title on the last day of the season, but we choked, losing 2-1 at home to Vissel Kobe. So Yokohama Marinos won their 3rd J-League title in a row, and we finished 2nd with 78 points, meaning we will be making a return to the AFC Champions League next season. Whilst we didn't have anyone in the Golden Boot hunt, we had 3 players finish inside the top 10 in terms of the goal scoring charts, so we were definitely sharing the goals around nicely. However, our success this season was not only in the J-League. We progressed through the early rounds of the J-League Cup, making it to the round of 16 before losing to Sagan Tosu 3-1 on aggregate after a disappointing collapse in the second leg. And in the Emperor's Cup, things got even worse as we got bounced in the second round, which is pretty embarrassing, but we will be back in the AFC Champions League next season. And before we talk about how much money we have to spend in this upcoming transfer window, I managed to pull off a gem of a free transfer signing. We pulled in Thailand international 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪, who will be our main man moving forward next season. Sadly, we don't have a huge war chest to improve this team beyond that, but we do have a lot of non-Japanese players, which is a bit of a problem as you're only allowed 5 in a matchday squad. So I think it's time for a bit of a clear out. In this window, Maxime Lestienne, 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 𝙤𝙗 and Ali Rayner all left the club for a combined £1.2 million as we tried to strip down the amount of non-Japanese players. On the incoming side of things, we picked up 7 players, spending a total of £1.7 million. The bulk of which was on left-back Ryon Yamahara, as we look to build a strong Japanese core with this team. And he's not quite our player yet, but we're in talks with Argentine forward Santiago Guardana, who looks remarkably good for this level. So fingers crossed we get him. Star rating wise, we've taken a little bit of a hit with the addition of 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪, but I am expecting big things from the team this season. The board is expecting us to challenge for the title again this season, but the media aren't fancying us as much, even though we have 3 players in the media dream 11. We started this season like a house on fire, picking up 3 points left and right, and we were atop of the league, but then disaster struck. After bagging 17 goals in 20 J-League appearances, Saudi Arabian side Al Riyadh activated the £3.7 million release clause on 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪, and our best player was gone from the club. However, we did use some of that cash to pick up some reinforcements in the shape of his international teammates Ekanet Pianta for 600k and striker 𝘼𝙗𝙗𝙪 𝙈𝙚 for £1.1 million. And we also cracked out the Wonder Kid Finder to identify this gem, Masato Fukuda from Metro Hollyhock for just 850k, and I think we can all agree he looks fantastic. In the league after the break, we returned with 3 consecutive defeats, but we were then able to right the ship and we were again in the hunt for the title. However, after a run of 5 consecutive victories, we faced Yokohama FC on the final day of the season, and just like last year, we lost on that final day. But Yokohama Marinos also lost on the final day of the season, meaning we hung on and won the title by goal difference. It's nothing like doing things the hard way. In the J-League, we progressed through the first couple of rounds early on in the season to set up a quarter-final tie with Yokohama Marinos. We drew the tie away from home 2-2, with Marinos scoring 2 late goals, but back at home we were able to run out comfortable 3-0 winners to win the tie 5-2. This set up a semi-final against Vissel Kobe, where we were on the road again in the first leg. We were exceptional in this game, with 𝙈𝙚 netting a brace on the way to a 3-1 win. However, at home things weren't as plain sailing, as 7 goals went in the game, with us losing 4-3, but progressing thanks to the work away from home. This set up a first final appearance for the club since 2016, where we would face FC Tokyo. The final was a very cagey affair, but after Kuni was fouled in the box by Nagatomo, we were awarded a penalty by VAR and the referee. Peglo stepped up and sent the keeper the wrong way to see us win the J-League Cup. And finally, in the Emperor's Cup, we progressed comfortably through the first few rounds, including a 12-0 demolition in the third round. In the quarterfinals, we were at home against Fukushima, and our impressive run continued, blowing them away with 4 second-half goals on the way to a 5-0 win. The semi-final created a replay of the J-League Cup final, as we would again take on FC Tokyo. This was much more one-sided than the cup final, as we bagged 4 goals all in the second half to see us advance to our second cup final of the season. In this final, we take on Kashima Antlers and get off to a flyer, scoring 2 goals inside the first 10 minutes. Kashima did pull a goal back through a Gentamura own goal, but we then continued to impress, scoring another 2 goals to run out 4-1 winners. This signaled a super season and domination of Japan, scooping every trophy that we were able to win this season. And we have already played the group stage of the AFC Champions League, where we were dominant in Group H, picking up 5 wins from our 6 games to finish top of our group and qualify for the second round, where we would take on Adelaide United from Australia. But that game won't be until next season, so you're going to have to wait to see how we get on there. We don't have an abundance of cash to improve this squad, as we've got just over 300k to make some moves, but we do have around 70k free in our wage budget. So I guess it's time to wheel and deal on some potential freebies perhaps. In this transfer window, if we wanted to spend any money, we would have to generate our own funds, and we did just that by shifting on 7 players out of the club for a total of 8.25 million. A bulk of that was for Brazilian wide man Peglo, who departs the club for Saudi Arabia for £5.5 million. We also shipped out several of our development centre players for various fees, which is great as they would never really break into our starting 11. On the incoming side of things, we pulled in 7 players for a total of 13.5 million. First up was Masanori Ishizuka, who joined us from FC Tokyo for £4 million, and he looks like he could develop into a super talent. I do like the attributes of 16 for both finishing and technique. We also spent another £4 million on Japanese international keeper Zion Suzuki, who joined us from Owari Red Diamonds to become our new number 1. Next up was creative midfielder Jin Kobayashi, who joined us for £3 million, but looks destined for the Japanese national team, considering he's already been capped at under 23 level and he's only 19 years of age. This team now has much more of a Japanese flavour about it, as recruitment was focused on homegrown talent and maximising the 5 foreign spots allowed in a matchday squad. Following last season's domestic domination, we are now favourites to win the J-League, and we have 5 players in that Media Dream 11. And we have already picked up our first piece of silverware this season, as we took on Yokohama Marinos in the Super Cup and continued that domestic dominance with a comfortable 4-1 win. And the AFC Champions League knockout stages are underway, and we hold a 2-0 lead over Adelaide United to take to Australia. Our start to the J-League season was remarkable, winning 12 of our first 13 games before suffering a little bit of a slump going into the mid-season league break. We also progressed through the earlier rounds of both domestic cups, but sadly our AFC Champions League dream ended abruptly. We did advance past Adelaide United in the second round, winning the tie 4-2 on aggregate to set up a tie with another Japanese side. So you'd think we would progress here, being, you know, the best team in Japan. Well, sadly, you would be wrong. We were stunned in the first leg, having taken the lead in the tie, but we then conceded 4 goals in the final 20 minutes to lose the first leg 4-2. Back at home, things didn't get much better, losing 3-2 on the night and 7-3 on aggregate to exit at the quarter-final stage. However, due to when the season runs in Japan, we are likely to get stung by the European deadline day, and that is exactly what happened this season. Spurs came calling for our new-gen centre-back Masuto Fukuda, who left the club during September for £6.25 million. And it makes me sad, considering he's now a fully-fledged Japanese international, but is stuck in Tottenham's under-21s. After this huge loss to the team, we started the second half of the season well, but did falter towards the end of the campaign, but stuttered to a second J-League title in a row, pipping FC Tokyo to the title by 4 points. In the J-League Cup, we managed to progress all the way to the final for a second successive season, where we would have a replay of last season's final as we would take on FC Tokyo. Last season, we ran out 1-0 winners. This season, things were much more routine, with a dominant performance to see us run out 4-1 winners and secure yet another trophy. But things didn't go according to plan in the Emperor's Cup, as we managed to dispatch Vissel Kobe at home in the quarterfinals, but then had a disappointing performance in the semis, losing on the road to Kyoto Sanga. So we won 3 out of 4 of the Japanese trophies on offer this season, but unfortunately failed to win the Emperor's Cup. And the eagle-eyed among you will notice that we are already back into the knockout stages of the AFC Champions League after dominating Group H to progress top of our group. So I'm hoping Season 5 is our year in that competition. We've got another £2.4 million to spend on recruiting players, and the focus will be on homegrown talent yet again. First up, let's talk about the outgoings, as free transfer signing Santiago Gordana has departed the club moving to Saudi Arabia for £1 million. And he must have shared a flight with long-serving player 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 𝙈𝙚, who joined the same club for £3.7 million. Our key incomings are defensive midfielder and Japanese international Minoru Uchida, who joined the club for £4 million. We also signed utility defender Toru Nakamura, who is a natural in every defensive position, so will really help out this season, and he cost us £1.7 million. And finally, we spent £3 million on Eiko Moriwaki from our rivals Yokohama Marinos, who looked like he could develop into an impressive forward given game time. This is the most balanced this team has been in this rebuild, with no real superstars, but a team of elite talents for this level. We will be participating in the same 5 competitions this season, and we've already secured the first one of the season, retaining the Super Cup with a 2-0 win over last season's Emperor Cup winners, Kyoto Sanga. This season, sadly, we couldn't get our hands back on the Emperor's Cup. After smashing Yokohama FC in the second round, we crashed out against FC Tokyo in the third round, losing 1-0 in extra time. However, we fared much better in the J-League Cup, powering through the opposition all the way through to the final, where we took on Gamba Osaka, who didn't really turn up, and we strolled to a 3-0 win without ever really getting out of second gear. In the league, this was our best performance by far, winning 28 of our 38 fixtures, on the way to securing our third J-League title in a row with 89 points, cementing our place back at the top of Japanese football. However, this wasn't our season highlight, as we still have the AFC Champions League to talk about. As I mentioned earlier, we'd already made it to the knockout stages where we faced FC Seoul from South Korea. We were impressive on the road in the first leg and really fired out a statement of intent with an impressive 3-0 win, and back at home we put in a professional performance, winning 1-0 and progressing through to the quarterfinals. In the quarterfinals, we faced another trip to South Korea to take on Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors, and yet again we were impressive on the road in the first leg, dominating the game from start till finish to run out 4-1 winners. Back at home, we continued to look like the better side, winning 2-1 on the night and progressing with a 6-2 aggregate lead. That result saw us move into the semi-finals, where we faced Korean opposition yet again in the shape of Suwon Blue Wings. This time, we lost on the road, but gave ourselves a good chance with a 2-1 scoreline. In the home leg, we got the breakthrough on the hour mark, and then deep into injury time, we managed to snatch the lead for the first time in the tie to progress to the AFC Champions League final, where we would take on Saudi Arabian moneybags 𝘼𝙗𝙗𝙪. Cristiano Ronaldo had moved on from this team, but they still had a crazy amount of talent in this squad, as they had Jan Sommer, Antonio Rudiger, Koke, Kevin De Bruyne and Heung-min Son in their starting 11. To show you there is levels to this, KDB is on a staggering £1.8 million a week. If you're still watching the video at this point, let me know by commenting KDB's bag down below. The final of the AFC Champions League is played over 2 legs, and despite having all of that talent against us on the field, we managed to pick up a 2-0 victory at home to take to Saudi Arabia for the second leg. This was always going to be a big ask, and 𝘼𝙗𝙗𝙪 clapped back early, with new-gen Mohsin Al-Ali bagging a first-half brace. But sadly for us, our hearts were broken in the second half, as Heung-min Son was on hand to score a tap-in to see 𝘼𝙗𝙗𝙪 complete the comeback and win the AFC Champions League. This was an awesome rebuild, and you can pick this up over on my Patreon now. And if you do like the rebuild content in FM24, check out this playlist popping up right now.